Hello guys, how you going? It's Campbell here from Autodidactic channel, and as always, Autodidactic means to be self-educated, and guys, you want to be self-educated because you do not want to be learning what these guys are trying to teach us.
Open up your mind and let me step inside.
Okay, so this video is touching on the Foundlings information that's been put around. I think UAD's done some videos and some other people. But basically, the Foundlings were, like children, babies that were shipped around the world. They were shipped out from England and the UK and Europe, and also shipped on trains in the Americas from the East Coast to the West Coast. Now, this video is just to sort of show, it's just really just to show you what was going on back in the sort of 1800s. And as you can see with this meme I've got in front of me here, cities in England during the mid-1700s were overcrowded. Many people lived in poverty, without homes, jobs, food, or even toilets. That means the streets were filthy and filled with sewage, making it sick and making it easy for people to get sick. Rates were everywhere too. Now, this is obviously something to do with the Black Plague, but this is the kind of story they're telling us, that back then, everything was just, overcrowded and poverty stricken and all this kind of stuff. But what may have actually been the story, as we all know, is that there may have been a catastrophe that's brought a lot of mud in, which obviously if you've got mud everywhere and water, that's going to help, promote disease and things like this. It's going to displace people. You're going to have lots of people, who have lost all their stuff, who don't have money, who don't have food. You're going to have lost all your crops and everything, all your food sources. So what happened around that time? So let's have a look here. So this is called, this is from Libraries Tasmania. So this is all to do with Australia. So before transportation, who were the convicts? From 1788 to 1868, over 160,000 men, women and children from a range of social and ethnic backgrounds were punished with transportation to Australia. And on this page you'll find the links, blah blah blah. Okay, so urban centres grew across Great Britain and Ireland in the 18th and 19th centuries as industrialisation increased, wealth distribution and social structures changed, requiring new policing and legal institutions. The justice system produced a large number of convicts, often convicted of minor crimes, requiring confinement, of course, because they're minor crimes. So crimes punishable by transportation ranged from serious transgressions with transportation used in place of the death penalty to very minor crimes where transportation was used as an alternative to adding more criminals to an already full and inadequate jails. Around 1,000 convicts were transported for political crimes such as rioting, treason and sedition. 24,000 women were transported to Australia as convicts. 2,500 of them were sent to Van Diemen's Land, which is Tasmania. Most women were first offenders, with their crimes relating to poverty. A high percentage were single, yet many left children and family behind. About 2,000 children travelled with their convict parents, entering institutions on arrival. And yes, there were actually child convicts, and they were child convicts on the first fleet. Children as young as 9 years were transported to Australia as convicts. 20% of the transported convicts were under 20 years. The age given on records is usually the only way to tell if a convict was a child, although children arrived with adults on convict ships and vessels such as the Francis Charlotte with 139 children. So, guys, we're getting convicts, which are basically, they're telling us, poor and displaced people, and we're getting these foundlings, these children that have been sent out as convicts or just as children of convicts. All around this time that the mud flood is supposed to have been happening. This is all sort of early to mid 1800s in Australia. This page is just called the First Fleet Fellowship, Victoria, and it just shows you, they've even given you the name, John Hudson at 9 years old. John, sometimes chimney sweeper and the youngest First Fleet convict at the time of sentencing. So he was sent out at 9. He stole some clothes, I think, stealing 1 linen shirt, 5 silk stockings, and a pistol. This is Mather, possibly no more than 14 years old at the time of her trial, sent to Australia as a convict. This is not Elizabeth Hayward, but it says was the youngest female convict at 13, blah, blah, blah. So they're sending kids out. Now, this is called Home Children. Home Children was the child migration scheme founded by Anne Macpherson in 1869, under which more than 100,000 children were sent from the United Kingdom to Australia, Canada, New Zealand and South Africa. Later research beginning in the 1980s exposed abuse and hardship of the relocated children. Australia apologised in 2019 for its involvement in the scheme. In February 2010, UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown made a formal apology. And Canadian Immigration Minister Jason Kenney stated in 2009 that Canada would not apologise to child migrants, preferring to recognise that sad period in other ways. So then this is the Home Children, and like as a labour source, this is what was going on, guys. The practice of sending poor or orphaned children to English and later British settler colonies to help alleviate the shortage of labour began in 1618 with the rounding up and transportation of 100 English vagrant children to the Virginia colony. In the 18th century, labour shortages in overseas colonies also encouraged the transportation of children for work in the Americas, and large numbers of children were forced to migrate, most of them from Scotland. This practice continued until it was exposed in 1757 following a civil action against Aberdeen merchants and magistrates. I mean, so guys, that's just child slavery. They're rounding up kids and sending them off to America, but where are they finding all these hundreds of vagrant kids? Why have we got vagrant kids? We don't have them today, and the population is, greatly increased. So the Children's Friends Society was founded in London in the 1830s. The Society for the Suppression of Juvenile Vagrancy through the Reformation and Immigration of Children. In 1832, the first group of children was sent to Cape Colony in South Africa and the Swan River Colony in Australia, which is Perth, where I live. Yay! And in August 1833, 230 children were shipped to Toronto and New Brunswick in Canada, and it just goes on as a social reform, right? Of course. So they're just sending kids all over the place. Now this is Australia, St. Joseph's Foundling Hospital Baby's Home Story. Now this is the one in Sydney, I believe, 1901 to 1975. In 1901, the Sisters of St. Joseph of the Sacred Heart established St. Joseph's Foundling Hospital as a purpose-built infants' home for up to 300 babies. St. Joseph's was a very large institution that also provided accommodation for expectant mothers, mainly single women. In the early 1930s, the department contracted St. Joseph's Foundling Hospital to care for an additional 60 infant state wards, in addition to between 160 and 175 non-wards in residence at any one time. So that's not non-wards of the state. Wards of the state are children that have been taken from their parent and taken under care, I guess. So I don't know what a non-ward really is. Found displaced kids maybe, right? From 1931, St. Joseph's also operated as a mothercraft training school. Blah, blah, blah. Now this is the Victorian Infant Asylum, 1877 to 1902. In 1877, the Victorian Infant Asylum was founded in Kew. In 1881, the asylum relocated to Berry Street in East Melbourne. By 1908, was called the Foundling Hospital and Infants Home. It was non-denominational, 1956, blah, 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 blah. So we had these, this is in Australia, we had these, infant, asylums, foundling homes, and this one, like you can see, this one went up to 1975. And this is what's going on, guys. They're displacing people and children, and they're still doing it. This is what immigration is. This is why some countries are third world countries, and they're just left to, sort of downward spiral into poverty, to make people want to leave them so they can get them and bring them to other countries. And it happens with jobs as well. With corporate jobs, they often, once you get to a certain rank, they start sending you, around the world to different places to live, to do different jobs, and they just love mixing up the population and just not letting people get settled and build proper communities based on, strong ties, like generational ties. It's just all, throw people around and create division. Children shipped off like baby convicts to Australia. Children in institutions in Northern Ireland were exported to Australia like baby convicts, our witnesses told a public inquiry. The Sisters of Nazareth Order of Catholic Nuns was responsible for the removal of 111 child migrants aged as young as 5 before and after the Second World War. So this was going up into the 40s as well, guys. They were still doing this stuff. Child migration to Australia. Fact sheet 124. Encouragement for child migration. In the years following World War II, a popular immigration slogan was, "The child, the best immigrant." They constituted a particularly attractive category of migrant because they were seen to assimilate more easily, were more adaptable. No crap, they're kids. Oh my God. Had a long working life ahead of them. What? And and could be cheaply housed in dormitory style accommodation. I mean, this is just, guys, this is slave labor with our kids. Between 1947 and 1953, over 3,200 children migrated to Australia under approved schemes. Okay, 47 and 53, guys. This is, after the war. This is not 1900 or the 1800s. 3,200 kids. About 100 of these children were Maltese, while the remainder came from the UK. Other European countries were asked if they would participate. They said no. There were over 30 homes approved by the Commonwealth for housing the child migrants. Most of these were run by voluntary and religious organisations. Red light. It was not government policy to provide homes specifically for migrant children. However, the government did contribute towards the capital expenditure incurred by these organisations in setting up suitable homes. So basically the government paid for them to do it anyway. Both the Commonwealth and state governments contributed towards running costs. The governments of the UK and Malta also paid maintenance for their children that had immigrated. So this was going on, guys. Still, I mean, and there's still stuff coming out that it was going up into the 70s. So yeah, just that's pretty much what I wanted to show you, is that this is a history of children and displaced people being rounded up, treated as criminals, convicted by false fiction, maritime law, and sent off to countries to repopulate the countries that were more devastated at the time. And it's still going on today with migration, and it's now being used more for division, to put, one, society or, religion, race, whatever against another. And the funny thing is that these people think they know their history and where they come from, but it's becoming more apparent that this was all taught to us in the last 2 or 3 generations, and it's still going on, guys, and it's still going on. And yeah, today is the 22nd of March 2019, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the world. Shootings in New Zealand, gun control, flooding in Dakota in the US, flooding in Queensland and Australia, lots of weird stuff, and it's not being televised, guys. We're not hearing about a lot of this stuff. Like, you might hear 1 or maybe 2 of these stories, but there's so much going on at the moment, and it's just not being televised. So yeah, heads up, like I said, we're in the middle of this. I used to think, sort of why things happen so quickly and why history just didn't really kind of make sense, because, as we all knew, after the Industrial Revolution, everything was just suddenly, lumped upon us, and we all wondered where it all come from. And now we know, but what we don't know is how much tech they really have and what's really going on. Are they manipulating weather and stuff like this? So just eyes open, guys. There's lots and lots of stuff going on, apart from the fact that Facebook and YouTube are shutting down accounts left, right and centre. They're, just, completely censoring free speech. So heads up, guys. I hope you like this video. I just rambled a bit, but that was the story. Children have been sent to Australia since the first fleet, and they were still being sent, as far as we know, up to the 70s. And I mean, we know it's child trafficking still goes on, guys. This is what's going on. This is the agenda. So yeah, time to change things. Hope you like this video. Please leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and share if you like this content. And as always, guys, be autodidactic, because self-education is the way forward. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next upload.